Welcome to Scorched Earth and a general reading for the sign of Aries, Sun, Moon or Ascendant for the month of October 2024. I hope you are well. I'm using the Night Sun Tarot for you today, and so usual rules apply when I'm using this deck. If there is any nudity, I'm going to cover it up toot sweet on account of the fact the AI bots don't like it and it flags my video and it causes all sorts of problems. So if you see me cover something up, that's what I'm doing. I'm not doing anything underhand. Other things to tell you: if the reading resonates and you'd like to go a little bit deeper, there will be an extended that you can access at the end. That's via the first link in the description box. The second link in the description box will take you to my private community, which is the Order of the Phoenix over on the Circle platform. You can get access to all of the extended content for no extra cost beyond the membership fee. Hang out with an extraordinary group of people and maybe learn some things. So if that sounds like it might be of interest to you, you know what to do with that. So Aries, let's have a look and see what's going on with you. Could I have 3 cards for Aries, please? Okay, we have Judgment in your recent past. Current energy, please, for Aries. We have the Star card. There we go. Just give her a little cover up there and put it in the middle. And what is coming towards Aries, please? Oh, thank you. We have the World. What an extraordinary group of cards we have going on for you there. We've got, I'll smooth my coffee out of the way. We've got a 2 of Pentacles at the bottom of the deck. And which deck are we going to use to clarify? So I have, no, it's right there. Yeah, it is you. I had total deck, it wasn't just deck blindness there, it was all kinds of blindness. I couldn't see the fucking deck on the table. Anyway, Aries, 3 major arcana governing your energy at this time is a big deal. There is lots going on with you right here. Interestingly, I've had a similar sort of thing come through for Pisces, and a similar sort of thing come through for Libra as well. This is a big month, it seems, for everyone. You are the 3rd sign that I'm reading for, so I can't speak to all of the signs. But there's definitely something going on. I'm seeing it rippling across. Cut the deck, and there's the Ace of Pentacles. I see it rippling across all of the signs. So bear with me a second while I get some clarifiers out on the table. And let's see if we can work out what's going on here. Tell me about the Judgment card. So we have the Death card, the Ace of Wands, and the King of Wands in quick succession. Tell me about the Star card, please. Queen of Pentacles and the 7 of Pentacles. And what about the World? Why is the World here? Oh, goodness, that really hopped out. Queen of Cups. The 10 of Swords and the Tower. Right, please don't panic. I do not feel like the Tower is a bad thing for you, even though it is preceded by the 10 of Swords, and I shall explain why. This is a point of some accumulation for you, right? We're coming to the end of a major cycle for you and the initiation of a new one. Obviously, initiation gets everybody excited, but at the same time, I do think for you, the closure of this particular cycle is something to get really, really excited about. So let's put these things here. We've got the 6 of Pentacles at the bottom of this deck to go with the 2 of Pentacles over there. And if we start in these places, in these shadow cards here, these are underlying themes for the reading. What we're talking about is a certain amount of stability and equilibrium having been achieved by you. But because this is Moon in Taurus, we're talking about an emotional stability that is permeating through your existence, which is helping you, is assisting you. Remember that we've seen the Ace of Pentacles for you already. I flashed it up there while I was when I cut the deck. We're beyond the point of initiation. We're now, how do we manage all of these things? I would say actually the word for you is synthesis. How do we synthesize everything that you've learned, everything that you've worked through, to really embrace what is happening here with both hands? That's what I would say here. So we start off over in this, on this side, with the Judgment card. Now, traditionally, this card is associated with resurrection. and put it that way, right? And it's got a kind of end of times feel about it, which is probably not too far from the truth, to be honest, at the moment. But it tends to be more personal than that. So we see this card come up quite a lot in Mercury retrograde, when there are old unfinished things that resurface, or old unfinished responses to things that are unfinished that we need to complete in some sort of way. But the thing that I want to really draw your attention to here is the fact that the Judgment card is the preceding card to the World. Now, without hopping ahead too much, the World card is the completion of a major cycle. It's huge. But, as we know, energy does not switch on and off. It cannot be created, it cannot be destroyed. Those things that we perceive as endings, depending on where you're looking at them, actually are the beginnings of things. And so, what we've got going on here is a progression towards the completion of a cycle, but while simultaneously initiating the start of the new at the same time. Like, it's quite difficult to demarcate. I think when we look back at life, there are things that we perceive as endings and beginnings in the moment when we are there. But when we look back, we see that maybe that started a little bit earlier than we thought it did, or maybe that actually tied up a little bit later than we thought it had, because we were carrying it around for quite a long time, right? But the Judgment card here, in this case for you, speaks to a life-changing decision. Now, the quality of that decision comes more from the fact that you're willing to make it rather than the outcome of the decision itself. What do I mean by that? Well, I truly believe that you can change your entire life with a thought. Simple as that. Sometimes those thoughts are towering in nature, and I've had a few of those moments myself in the past, but you change your outlook on something and suddenly everything looks different, right? The options available to you are different. The exercise of good judgment in the moment, where we see a decision that can be made and we choose to take it, we choose to own it, can see a whole new set of options arising for us. And I feel like that's where you've been, Aries. Now, this might be because you're reevaluating your life and what you have achieved versus what you want to do. You might be reevaluating your priorities. You may be reevaluating your core values, full stop. What do I stand for? What do I think is important? What should be the priority in my life versus what has been the priority in my life? What this is saying is, at some point over the course of September, something fairly significant changed with you. And as a result of the transformation we see here in the Death card, what we've got is some sort of incredible flash of energy that is showing you, pointing at you, where the start of the new things are. Now, the Death card is Scorpio, and it is associated with Pluto, and obviously Pluto's kind of active at the moment. He's bobbing between Aquarius and Capricorn, and as I record this, he is currently in his last hurrah in the sign of Capricorn. Now, depending on where that is in your chart, you may have a very clear idea of what this refers to. If Capricorn rules your 10th house because you're an Aries ascendant, then it could well be that you're reevaluating what you want to be seen as doing, your public reputation, your career, things like that. But, if you're another sign, it's going to be appearing in a different house. Pluto is about where we draw our power from, because generally speaking, we are taught to draw from it in the wrong way. In the case of Aries, and we've talked about this a lot, doing something for doing something's sake. I like to think that most Aries have stopped that over the last year or two as attention has been drawn to it. And there's something much deeper and much more powerful that Aries is now attaching itself to. I feel like it's just kind of excavated this path inside of you, which is like, rather than kind of clinging on to these anchor points inside, it's like, go right down to the bottom and draw that power up from there, like literally pull it up through the earth. It's vital warrior energy, I guess, is what I'm talking about here. So we've got this enormous transformation of self, of what it is that you want to initiate and the way that you intend to do it. But we also have this idea that Aries is beyond the point of acting for acting's sake. It's like every movement has to have purpose. Everything is taking you towards your goal or away from it. And I feel like it's all of this stuff that Aries has been kind of throwing around within themselves that's putting you in this really powerful position of real creativity, where perhaps in light of your core values and your priorities being reassessed, you're like, nah, this is what I want and this is the way that I'm going to get it. Like, there's no wasted energy here, not with the King of Wands. The King of Wands, particularly in this guise here, is all about timing. It's like, when the moment is right, I will strike. As the iron is hot, I will strike. I will do my thing. I'm not going to do loads and loads of things just for the sake of doing them, when actually what I want is this really big push, this really big change. And then we come to the energy of where you are right now, and it is represented by the energy of the star. Now, interestingly, Aquarius, and it could well be that you're intending to harness the power of Pluto in Aquarius to take you in a new direction. Aquarius quite often represents the future and whatnot. But I think it's more about you getting absolutely in touch with what it is that you want for the rest of your life, because it's not what you've had. Now, was it last month we were talking about all these green go signs for you? I mean, they're still very much here, but there's an acceleration towards the end of a personal cycle that is almost happening. Well, it feels almost inadvertent, but it's not, because what you've done is you've correctly identified where the source of your power is, and you've correctly reassessed and reevaluated what it is that is important to you. And it seems like all of this energy and power has come from somewhere, you know not what, and now the goal is clear. Now you know where you're going. Well, you may not know exactly where you're going, but you certainly know how you are going to get there. We've got the Queen of Pentacles, Capricorn again, and the Seven of Pentacles here. And I think there's something so incredibly fucking tedious about this Seven of Pentacles card, and that's kind of the point, right? Everything is predictable. Everything is following prescribed lines, and it's like death to an Aries. Like, when you are a sign that is about exploration, initiation, innovation, getting out there and experiencing something for everything that it is, there's a certain predictability about the way that your life has been playing out that feels tedious to you. Now, the meaning of this card for me centers around the idea that we've invested a lot in something and it's got us to where we are. But something in the environment isn't working for us anymore. It feels like it's lost its shine, it's lost its luster, or maybe it's not giving us what we thought that it would. And at this point now, where Aries is far more capable of looking after themselves than they ever were before, because that's what the Queen of Pentacles about for me. It's about self-investment and self-care, right? Nurturing, understanding what it is that you need and providing that for yourself, or moving towards circumstances and situations and relationships that give that to you. You find yourself in a place where you're like, there are a whole myriad of things about my life that I find objectionable. Mayhap I even find them tedious, and I am resolute about changing those. Now, the way that all of these cards are working together here is that you are pinning your sails to, or pinning your colours rather, to your dreams, your hopes, your aspirations, right? Your willingness to heal for a start, you know, definitely. But there's nothing that feels too out there for you right now to achieve. And what I want you to understand, Aries, is this is not self-delusion. This is not wishful thinking. That feeling that you have that you can conquer literally everything is exactly where you are supposed to be right now. And if there is anything in your environment that is somewhat tedious, that is not feeding you in the way that you need, you don't need my permission to cut it out, but I think it's time. So what we have here is the stage being set for you to be able to propel yourself off at a rate of knots towards something much more meaningful for you, something much more in alignment with who you are becoming versus who you have been. And the self-care is absolutely at the bottom of it, but it's like understanding the value of investing in yourself in the right way rather than the way that you have done before, and perhaps even, bringing into account the people that you have in your environment. Like, they're going to form part of this too. Now, I want to put these to the side for a second because I want to focus on this. And before I get to the world, I want to come down to this Mother of Cups right here. She represents Cancer, and as I understand it, Mars is in Cancer at the moment, right? So your ruling planet, certainly at least if you're an Aries ascendant, is in the sign of Cancer, and here Cancer is. Cancer's pointing over here. Now, the Queen of Cups for me is all about how you manage your emotions, right? She helps you understand your emotions. She's pointing at the Queen of Pentacles, who helps you understand what you're doing with your resources. And between these two queens, they're saying, if you don't like something, change it. That's it. That's the end of the story. There is no oh well, I have to, or I must, or I should, or anything like that. It's quite straightforward. You don't like it, change it, because you can. And the more you can change, and the bigger you can push in terms of what you want to change. And I include within that yourself, Aries. If you want to be more of a kind, considerate, caring person, then incorporate that into your daily being. If you want to be better with your resources, whether they be money or attention or whatever, then do that. Like, these are what these queens are saying here. We've assessed everything, we've looked at all of the things, and actually the only thing that's left to do is the doing. Right there. Do it. Change it. Make it less tedious. Make it more exciting. Make it be something that is within your control, because actually you are the person who is creating your own reality here. And there's a balance. There's an alignment now of all the bits of you that might have in the past kind of pulled away from this idea. Now, Aries generally pretty good at changing stuff up, right? But the kind of transformation that you've been through in the last 2 years has given you a very different perspective. We're not talking about the hacking and chopping and cutting people out and cutting situations away, or going off like a firework in the middle of a sort of situation, because there's a wisdom about you now. There is something that's canny balanced actually about you now. And it's this realization that anything that is in your life that is wrong, the only person who can change it is you. Like, it might take a reassessment of core values. It might take a reassessment of priorities. It might take a reassessment of anything or anything. But it's within your power to change. And the Queen of Cups says you're emotionally ready to do that. 100%. So then we come to these two cards of endings, and we have the World and we have the Ten of Swords. Now, the Ten of Swords is a very uncomfortable card. Compared to the jubilation and the celebration that we have here of the World card, there's something really quite bleak and unpleasant about this card here. But it's to do with the workings of the mind, as the entire sword suit is, right? We're talking about rationality, reason, intellect, logic, like thoughts, words. These are all contained within the sword suit. And because the 10 represents an ending, what we have is an end to a particular way that you have thought about everything. Right? We have completed. From this point on, we move to the Ace of Swords. And that is a whole new way of seeing things. Both of these cards here together are talking about the cessation of a particular mindset that has been slowly being eradicated by you, actually, as you've processed the events of the last couple of years, such that you can now see where it is that your mind itself has been holding you back in one way or another. Perhaps it's the way that your emotions have been informing your mind about what is important, what comes next, you know. Let's pull up the Waitsmith and just see if it's got anything else to say about the Ten of Swords. Why is the Ten of Swords here? Wow. We have the Empress reversed, but we also have the Nine of Swords reversed, and this is significant. Do you know why it's significant? Because for months and months, and I can't, was it last year? Was it this year? I genuinely can't remember. I think perhaps it might have been last year. We were talking a lot about abandonment issues and, you know, emotional safety and the lack thereof. And almost every Aries that commented on the video as these messages were coming through before said, well, that's not me. I haven't got abandonment issues. I'm perfectly independent. I'm fine. I'm doing my own thing. Over the course of a couple of months, almost all of them changed their position and went, holy shit, I've been looking at it and I see now where this has come from. I see where my desperate need for, you know, maintaining control over my own life has come from. And it's not just like yourself within your life. I mean, it's all the aspects of your life. Understanding that as a trauma response, being like, oh shit, I did not see that before. Now, the Empress in reverse, very interesting because it is the archetypal mother. Mother being the word for God on the lips of small children. And, you know, taking into account that we seem to simply repeat the first 6 years of our lives over and over again until such point as we notice what we are doing. What we have is a stepping down of the trauma that was associated with that particular relationship. Sorry, I went off on a whole little side quest in my head there. Because we're coming out from underneath this relationship. It's almost like you're emerging into the world as not only a full individuated creature, but one who is able actually to mother oneself. And these are two interesting queens for you, because the Queen of Swords and the Queen of Wands are, you know, obviously the Queen of Wands is Aries, but these masculine energied queens, Queen of Wands and the Queen of Swords, would be much more in alignment naturally with how you understand how you work. Right? It's outward expressing energy, as fire is, as air is. With earth and water, we have something coming in. We have something being allowed to be let in. We've got nurturing. We've got those kind of softer things that mothers should stand for. In amongst other things, I think mothers should teach children to be independent and to think critically and all that sort of stuff. But it's this care. Right? The ability to be able to care for yourself and not be stuck in that state of fear that one is not enough, or that, you know, one's only value is in taking care of others and doing things for other people. That was a big thing for Aries. Having always to take charge and take control of everything. We've got some pretty heavy mother wound fixing going on here. You know, where the Nine of Swords is a lack of perspective. Perspective has been lost somewhere along the lines. Nine of Swords in reverse is a regaining of that perspective. It's someone who is finally able to control the workings of their mind. They're not pinging around like a pinball, trying to make sense of a world that does not make any sense. Well, it only makes it only fails to make sense if you're coming at things from a state of being conditioned by the behaviors, words, and actions of other people. When you are true to yourself, when you are authentic, when you are vulnerable even, when you're taking your energy, whatever that is and however it expresses, and you are putting it truthfully out into the world, suddenly everything seems to make much more sense than it did before. So we've got an end to a cycle here. Certainly, let's say between these two cards. An end to a particular mindset, a particular way of thinking, right? A loss of anxiety because perspective has been regained. And one's subconscious is not reacting out of trauma. Because you've never really needed anyone to do anything for you, Aries, but that was because you were catapulted into a state of having to do things for yourself far too early. Again, this sense of you coming out from underneath the shadow of whatever it is that has been your, respective life experiences. And the Wheel of Fortune at the bottom of the deck. It feels like everything's just falling into place. And for the first time, you perceive yourself to be the incredibly powerful being that you are. And it's not something that needs the hacking and chopping and cutting and slicing and conflict. Although you must never be afraid of going into conflict if you need to. Like, agreeableness is overvalued in modern society, in my opinion. But you've pulled a deep power from somewhere, and now at the end of this cycle, and it's the end of a big cycle for you, Aries, you're ready to start changing direction. Now, there could be a way of reading these cards, the World, the Tower, the Ten of Swords, to say, something really awful and catastrophic is going to happen. But that's altogether too fucking obvious for what is going on here. It is. It just doesn't... It's much more nuanced than that. We have this character here dancing on the back of their own ignorance right here, right? Literally pummeling it into the ground. And the World card is a card of joy and graduation. It's sitting over the top of the Ten of Swords. I mean, you are literally dancing on the ignorance of your previous mindset. That's what this is saying to me here. And with that, we have a loss of anxiety, a loss of fear, a loss of the things that keep us up at night, right? And a regaining of perspective, realizing that the time for the Empress to have made any difference has kind of been and gone, and now you're doing it for yourself, but you're doing it for yourself properly, like this. Queen of Pentacles, Queen of Cups. There's a major turn up ahead for you, Aries, and I do not think that this is something that's coming as a horrible shock. I mean, quite the reverse. It's either coming as an incredible joy to you, right? Something so good that you didn't see it fucking coming, or you yourself are initiating this change of direction. I see both of those feeling much more like what is happening here for you than the first interpretation. Tell me why this Tower is here, please. Two of Wands in reverse. Quite like that. Queen of Swords. Right. Well, the cards are being a little bit slippery here, but it's the Queen of Swords making sense of what you think, coming hot off the trail of the Ten of Swords and the Nine of Swords reversed, is speaking to you coming to some really big decisions over the course of October that are going to see you change direction altogether. And the reason why the Two of Wands is in the reverse is not because you have to stand at a crossroads and make your decision about which way you're going. It's that it's so fucking obvious. Now you have all the information that you need, and all the information that you need is, quieting down the ignorance of the mindset. I'm not saying you're ignorant, but it's jumping on the back of this, right? So that your new clean way of interpreting the world, of communicating with the world, of literally understanding the world, is putting you on a path whereby you could not choose to do anything else, even if you wanted to, because once seen, it cannot be unseen. This feels really, really powerful, Aries. And you could choose to do it differently, but you won't, because you see everything now. You've made sense of everything now. Like, you are, well, you've passed the test, whatever it is, and now it's time to start chasing what makes you really happy, and nothing's going to get in the way of that. Nothing at all. It starts here, which is fabulous. I am going to go over to the extended now, because I am really, really intrigued, and whenever the cards start slippering around a little bit, I'm like, nah, I need to nail you. What are you about? So if you would like to join me over there, you're very welcome to do so. You can do that on Vimeo, or you can do that on Circle. I'd be delighted to see you in either place. But we're going to get really stuck into the transition of this ending towards whatever bright, sparkly ruby is in your future, because it's here for you for the taking. And if anything, I would say whatever this is something that's already been set in motion for a little while. Right? It's just been about clearing up the end. It's finishing off what needed to be finished off, so that you can go after this with both hands. And I like that very much. So I shall leave it there. Know that I love you all very, very much, and I'll see you soon.